everyone. I'm Kevin Bartlett.
And I'm Kristine Strauss, and this is the new and improved Real Deal with Baird & Warner, where we cover all things real estate.
For buyers, sellers, renters, investors, and fellow agents. So before we get rolling with the second part of a two-part episode that we started last week, let's take a look at the activity over this past weekend.
Yeah, so we are seeing still a super low inventory with the listings. We really need to get those listings up, even though the inventory is still extremely low. Over this last weekend, we did see a slight increase, but we are still way lower than where we need to be right now.
At least a positive spin on it. At least we're going semi in the right direction.
Right.
On the buyer side, as we've been saying week after week here, we are in a buyer frenzy right now. We saw the most amount of buyers looking at homes this past weekend than 2016, I think our records go back until. That was the most amount of buyers we've had in at least 5 years, potentially even longer.
Right.
So yeah, buyers are out there with the listings being as low as they are. It's really a buyer frenzy right now. So
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's get into today's topic. Last week we talked about tips for buyers navigating through this crazy market.
Right.
Today we're going to talk a little more on the seller side and give you some tips as a seller on how to navigate this market. You would think you have all the leverage in the world, which for the most part you do, but there's a lot of things you need to keep in mind as a seller when you're hitting this market.
Absolutely.
So first tip here is it is still important to price appropriately. So with the market right now, a lot of sellers have the mindset, I can get pretty much whatever I want for my house.
Yep.
Which, you know what, it actually might be true. Someone might be willing to pay whatever you want for your house. However, you do need to keep that appraisal in mind. And when the buyers now are more educated than they've ever been before.
That's absolutely right, yeah.
Got all the websites, they're probably doing shopping online before they talk to a realtor, potentially months or even longer.
Right.
Before that, so buyers know what's going on in your neighborhood. They know what homes are selling for. So if you do kind of try to shoot for the moon on your price, buyers are educated enough to know that you're probably overreaching a little bit, and that could end up hurting you, especially in this marketplace. If your home is sitting on the market for a couple of weeks, normally that's not a huge deal.
Right.
But right now, with the market being as crazy as it is, buyers are seeing properties that are sitting for a couple of weeks and thinking, hey, what's wrong with that house?
Exactly.
And that's gonna deter buyers from even entering the door and potentially get you a lower price at the end of the day.
Absolutely, yeah, Kevin. I mean, that's such a good point. It's like the buyers, they really do. I mean, you guys as buyers are very educated, and so having a good sense of that, right? You can test it to a certain extent, but not getting too crazy with it.
Sure, yeah, and there's always a price range that
Right.
you should be shooting for. Maybe with this market, you can kind of shoot towards the higher end of that range, but you still have to be realistic.
Absolutely, yep, really great tip. So heading over to our next tip here, we still need to make sure that you as a seller, you are keeping your home show ready. So yes, the buyer frenzy is a real thing. You will definitely get quite a bit of showings in most cases, but we still need to make sure that that home is ready to go. So things like decluttering, depersonalizing, doing that nice deep clean, making sure that it is still a very appealing home, that is ultimately going to help you maximize on that price and get as many of those potential buyers as interested as possible. We have seen some sellers asking, well, we've still got all of these things. Do we really need to maybe paint that wall or do some of these touch-ups? My personal answer, and I don't know, Kevin, if you agree with this, but I would still say yes. Take that
Absolutely.
extra day or two, right,
Yep.
to really make sure it is presented well and it shows well, so that way you can really maximize everything there.
Sure, and could you sell without doing it? Yeah, this is a crazy market, but are you going to maximize your value and get the most you can get for your home? Probably not.
Exactly, yeah. So we still need to make sure you are fully ready to go. We are not cutting any corners here. So ultimately we can get you that great price, great terms, and ultimately the offer that you want.
All right, great tip, Kristine.
Thanks, yeah.
So the next tip here is you need to be prepared on how to handle multiple offers. And first thing is first, you need to have a professional realtor to help you along the way. Right now with the market being so crazy, a lot of people think, hey, I could probably sell my house myself. Why do I have to pay you to do it?
Right.
There's a lot of reasons, but right now we're just going to kind of focus on this multiple offer aspect.
Right.
picture yourself as a seller, no realtor, and you get 20 offers coming in. And within each offer, it's not just the purchase price, there's 20 different terms on there that you have to negotiate through.
Right.
And how do you handle that? Do you disclose to one buyer that you're in multiple offers? Do you disclose to multiple buyers that you're in multiple offers?
Right.
Do you disclose to nobody? There's a lot of decisions to be made, and without a professional realtor, it can get really hairy really quickly.
Absolutely.
So it's always a good idea to have the professional realtor there helping you along with that process. So as a seller, you do need to be prepared for these multiple offers. If your home is show ready, if it's priced right, it's more than likely going to be getting multiple offers in this market. There's just not a lot of inventory out there, and people are desperate to buy homes.
Absolutely right. And I think having that professional realtor by your side to coach you through it, keep it all organized. And Kevin, you made a great point. I mean, we are realistically seeing things like 5, 10, 20 offers presented, which means that we've been seeing homes have up to 70 plus showings. So again, if you have that professional realtor to help, really keep that organized and give you some great structure, that can take a huge load off of your plate and really make this a more enjoyable experience for you, start to finish.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a couple other things with multiple offers too you need to consider. There's just so many different ways you can go about it. Do you negotiate with just one buyer at a time?
Right.
Do you negotiate with multiple at a time? Or do you ask for best and final offer from everybody and try to make it as easy and clean as possible? There's a lot of different ways to go about it, and I would really, again, as we've said over and over here, I would rely on your professional realtor to help you out with that.
Absolutely. Wonderful tip. That's so good to keep in mind. So the other piece that I want to bring into this here too is just be careful and be aware of the appraisal, right? So yes, it is amazing, and we're talking about things like multiple offers, over list price, selling in a matter of days, which is phenomenal. But the price is only one portion of that. And so with that, of course, in almost all situations, especially when you have buyers who are financing, that appraisal piece is going to come into play. And so we have to make sure that your house realistically stands a chance of appraising, right? Because there's no sense in accepting this offer that's, let's say, 30, 40 over list price.
Which is happening.
It is happening. People are getting presented with those offers, and then if it doesn't appraise, right, we're kind of back to square one. There are certainly situations and ways that we're seeing buyers get creative with that, how they can maybe cover some of that gap, but the price and that appraisal portion, that's one piece of the offer. So we have so many other things that your professional realtor can help you through, other terms, financing, earnest money, what other contingencies do they have? So again, relying on your realtor is going to be one of the best steps that you can do so you can evaluate the offer in full and make sure that you are ultimately choosing the right offer for you.
Absolutely. All right, last tip here, tip number 5. Utilize the private network. Now, some of you guys might have never even heard of that. The private network is a network that allows realtors to see it's almost acts as kind of a coming soon. So realtors have access to properties that are not yet on the market. Right now, the private network is almost acting as the real market.
Right.
So if you are a buyer and you have a realtor, they need to be looking at that private network. There's homes on there that haven't hit the market yet, and with inventory being as low as it is, you need to be exploring every single avenue.
Right.
And as a seller, you might be worried about having all these showings. As Kristine said, you might be having 70 showings in a weekend.
Right.
If you go on the private network, there's a chance you might sell your home before you really even have to start dealing with that. Granted, you will still probably be doing showings to get an offer on the private network, but typically you're not going to be getting the frenzy that you would see otherwise.
Absolutely. And there are, of course, always, benefits and strategies of how you can even have your home marketed in that private network too, which again, talking to your professional realtor, they can walk you through what is going to be the best setup for you and your situation. So that way, again, it is a very enjoyable experience for you at the end of the day, and you're getting the offer that you need to.
All right, now a word from Chris Patras with Key Mortgage for our weekly Mortgage Minute.
Hi, it's Chris Patras with Key Mortgage. I'm here for your Mortgage Minute, and today is March 16th. As you know, today's market is very competitive. Sellers are receiving multiple offers to consider, and I thought what I would do is just give you a tip to help your offer look more favorable. And I think how you could do that is to make sure that your pre-approval is buttoned up and the pre-approval letter doesn't leave any questions unanswered to the seller. So it may not come down to the highest price, but it may come down to the total package, price and your financing. So my advice would be to work with a local reputable lender, and you might think it logical to use your bank, which more than likely is not in your best interest. That is because the large banks have a reputation of providing a qualification letter rather than an approval letter. So you most certainly want to present a pre-approval letter with your contract to assure the seller that you have done all of your due diligence. So I don't want you to run the risk of your offer being overlooked. So make sure your pre-approval letter contains the following. I would suggest that it has a current date, so work with your loan officer to give you an up-to-date letter. Have the letter confirm that your credit has in fact been run and verified, and that your income and asset documents have been provided and reviewed. If you don't have these items, then you really aren't pre-approved. And then lastly, make sure that the letter contains the verbiage that your loan has gone through desktop or automated underwriting. Again, these are all items that the seller is going to look for to make sure that you are completely approved. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm Chris Patras with Key Mortgage. Have a great day.
We really hope that today's tips help you as sellers really try to navigate this crazy spring market that we're seeing.
Thanks again for joining us. I'm Kevin Bartlett.
And I'm Kristine Strauss. Catch us next time to hear about
The Real Deal.